when I was young, we had our first home computer, and for some reason it got delayed for weeks. And they sent us this collection of games for free as a sorry it was so late. One of the games was Command and Conquer. I loved it. I really wasn't very good at it. I had no idea about tactics or nuance, so I used to play the same few levels over and over again. But the intro to the game, where it was telling me about the world and the factions, it captivated me. It stuck with me ever since. So the core of the game is there is a Tiberium asteroid that hits in 1995. And it crashes into the Tiber River in Italy. And Tiberium is a semi-organic plant that puts down its roots into the earth and sucks out all the nutrients and nourishment and all the metals and stuff, and forms these crystals. So essentially kills everything around it, but will give these very valuable rare earth metal crystals. So it makes it really easy to harvest this stuff. However, a prolonged contact with it will kill you. So it's it's killing the environment, but it makes people rich. Oh well. And then you have the factions. The main one is the Global Defense Initiative, or GDI, who are set up as a militarized branch of the United Nations, with the pure intent of fighting global terrorism. Counter to that is the Brotherhood of Nod, and then this ancient secret cabal, and they are obsessed with the Tiberium now that it's here. And they are really good at manipulating the media and hacking and guerrilla warfare and stuff. And their leader is Kane, who is played by Joseph David Kukan, who is an amazing actor. He is so hammy, and he is playing this self-proclaimed prophet who is over the top, and he is one of my favourite characters. So as Tiberium grew in the warmer parts of Asia, South America and Africa, Nod manages to secure about 49% of the world's Tiberium, and it makes them from this fringe cult to a very rich group of nutters. And then there's this big arms race between them and GDI. And then Nod starts doing cyber attacks and bombings, and it becomes predictably a full-out war between the two factions. And then that's the events of the first Tiberium War, portrayed in the game Tiberium Dawn. And it's a real-time strategy. You move units about, you build units, etc. By today's standards, there's not a huge amount that makes it stand out, really. Nod is a bit darker and definitely the bad guys of the game, and then GDI have this massive ion cannon they've built in orbit. The Tiberium makes it quite interesting as it's growing up, and your infantry will die if they go over it, and vehicles can move around and stuff. So Nod then quite quickly takes over Africa, uniting everybody against the Europeans essentially, and the GDI in Europe, apart from the East. And there's a big sort of standoff. Nod makes some false claims of GDI doing massacres using their media influence and stuff. And then the funding gets taken from the GDI, from the UN. It's all a ruse. So when Nod attacks them, they'd actually have loads of tanks still, because they didn't really care. So then managed to push the Nod forces back to Bosnia, where Kane has his temple. And after a long battle, the temple is destroyed by the iron cannon, killing Kane and ending the first Tiberium War. However, Tiberium is still spreading. It's actually in the tropical regions, causing ion storms, which make planes grounded, lightning bolts, full of these alien monsters running about eating people. Humans can barely deal with it, so they all start migrating north because it doesn't like the cold and it grows really slowly. GDI has a great plan to move everyone into the Arctic. Amazingly, doesn't really go well. There's a small group called the Forgotten who are mutated by Tiberium, and they're mostly immune to it, and they've formed into these nomadic tribes who roam throughout the land where the humans can't go in. By about 2030, GDI have pretty much become a global superpower. They've got all the money, all the technology, and there's a few bits of nod splinter groups still about, but not enough to cause problems. And then you have the second game, Tiberium Sun. It's more interesting. GDI have sonic weapons to keep the Tiberium at bay, like battle mechs with machine guns so that they can traverse around. Even the grenades you can throw as a disc, and there's little jets on it which keeps it going for ridiculously long way until it hits something. The nod is still about, but they're mostly guerrilla attacks, being nuisances. They're developing stealth technology. They've got laser weapons. There's a jet fighter called the Banshee that's basically reversed engineered alien technology they got from somewhere. So the second Tiberium War kicks off as the GDI communications are hacked into, and Kane reveals himself as alive, and Nod rises up to fight against the oppressors, and then basically chemical attack Europe with missiles, rendering that pretty much uninhabitable. Kane tries to launch what he deems the world-altering missile, which nobody knows what it is, nobody wants to ask him. He's stopped, his temple in Cairo is destroyed, he is killed again, and the war ends. And at this point, GDI basically takes over. They're now the world superpower, there's nobody else about, nobody's going to tell them no. And so they portion the world up into 3 different sectors. There's the red zones, which are all just covered in Tiberium. You can't live there, no one can live there, it's dreadful. Yellow zones, there's a lot of Tiberium, you can still live there, but they don't care. Whatever, do what you want. And then there's the blue zones, and they have no Tiberium, controlled by GDI, and they're quite pockets of utopian existence. It's a bit bizarre. And so they have a big space station called the Philadelphia. They have a big summit discussing all the various things going on. Nod managed to hack the defenses. They nuke the whole thing. Everybody dies. Kane isn't dead. And the war starts again. They find there's an experimental liquid Tiberium facility in Australia, which gets destroyed. Australia's no more. We are running out of continents at this point. And then they find his temple in South Africa. South America even. They hit it with an ion cannon. It's got a liquid Tiberium bomb there as well. It takes out the whole place, kills Kane again, maybe. And then the war ends. However, the massive Tiberium bomb explosion has brought the Skrin, who are a race of aliens who seed worlds with Tiberium in order to harvest them. And apparently this was Kane's big plan, to bring them here so he could... Who knows what that madman wanted. And these massive towers defend from space. In the red zones, they start harvesting Tiberium and building these towers into whatever they're meant to be, whatever the final plan is with them. And GDI managed to destroy all of them but one, because Nod is helping the Skrin hold back the GDI. And so that one gets completed. And that's basically where the game ends. And I'm not really sure what's going on. The world is completely destroyed at this point. There's a few blue zones in like the terrible snowy north holding out. And then we have Tiberium Twilight, the 4th game and the final game. But I quite like talking about Command & Conquer. I love it as a series. And Tiberium Twilight is so bad. The gameplay is just off. It feels like a cash grab. A way of trying to just... It's all done. We'll do a final game. We'll do all the plot threads. Doesn't make any sense. Because it doesn't make any sense anyway. You can't just wrap up that nonsense. And it's sitting at, I think, 17% positive reviews on Steam, which is just dreadful. So I'm going to ignore it. It didn't happen. It can't hurt me. It's all fine. But I do love Command & Conquer. It's not particularly well written. The characters are ridiculous. The plot is nonsensical. The gameplay is not great, really. But I do love it. Because it's dumb. Remember, peace through power.